In this lecture, we'll study about critical discourse analysis and how this could be useful in analyzing various discourses generated in media studies. By media studies, I mean various kinds of mediums, for example, TV, newspaper, and other forms of media, which is popular in today's life. In the beginning, I'll just talk about some kind of introduction, which would be based on introducing the concepts of uh, uh, critical discourse analysis within the range of media studies, and how this can be used effectively or has been used so far by various scholars. Some people argue that, for example, Fallon argues that some kind of critical discourse analysis was already being employed by the scholars who were conducting studies on within media, because they were analyzing the discourse, may not be using the word discourse or the word the terminology like critical discourse analysis, but they were analyzing the media discourse in a way which was closer to critical discourse analysis before actually it became as a separate branch of discourse analysis in 70s or 80s. In one of his studies, Fairclough has also focused on the importance of the concept of discourse to the emergence of media studies in the 70s and 80s, in which discourse of media and how this is influenced by various socio-critical factors was already being investigated. According to Fallon's discussion, CD and media can come under various kinds of discussions or tags, for example, communications, or communication studies, and they have been studied widely across the world with various tags. So, within communication studies or media studies, discourse analysis, which may not exactly be critical discourse analysis, but was quite similar to this, has already been investigated. Media studies examine the political, social, economic, and cultural implications of individual mediums, for example, newspapers, television, radio, and their combined power and authority uh, as the media. As we generally in our daily discourse say that media creates this, media creates that, media makes people, media unmakes people, media makes conceptions, media breaks conception. When we say it in this fashion, we are generally using media as a common or collective platform which includes all these mediums. But there can be studies, and there are already studies which may focus on one kind of medium instead of entire media. So both individual and collective treatment of mediums or medium is possible. Yet, on the other hand, the boundaries and location of media studies is not so straightforward. For example, if you consider how different nominal entities like politics, economy, identity, and so on are increasingly conceptualized as mediated or mediatized. By that we mean it is being mediated or influenced by the media, and this has been a notion which is getting strong grips in all societies. All thinking, most of us think that media is probably playing its role too much. It's now is involved in making or unmaking of the governments. It's behind the most popular or maybe the otherwise propagandas in the world. It can make a point of view, may be sponsored by an open or hidden force, and it could simultaneously unmake or hide a point of view by glorifying another event. For example, there is an event which happens in a society and that needs attention. And if media has been given the task or takes this task itself to hide that event, it would glorify another event and project it in a way that the other event might have never happened or is of not that significant importance. In today's world, we see these examples maybe on daily basis, because we see this kind of skewed projection of events by the media. And if you see at the mediated discourses or mediatized discourses, especially in politics, around you, you'll find scores of examples. I can give you a very recent example. Look at American elections 2020, which we have just witnessed. Uh, the presidency candidate, which have just apparently lost the election, has blamed certain media houses for his defeat. He believes that he has been projected wrongly by certain media groups within America, and which shows that a candidate of presidency in one of the most powerful countries in the world cannot control media, and he believes it's the media who has played a very important role in dethroning him. He has already been the president of America. I'm talking about Donald Trump. He's already been the president. He probably is a very influential person when he was contesting election, but still he was stumbled down by the media as he thinks about it. So this notion is getting its roots deep into our mindset that we are living in a mediatized world. So that exemplifies the power of media. And that's why we probably would not need any other discussion to establish that why media discourse is important to be investigated in the contemporary world. There could be certain salient points here after this discussion. One at the heart of the relationship between critical discourse analysis and the media studies is that we cannot understand the discursive constitution of society independently of the structural and structuring dynamics of large scale and micro scale media within that society, especially in the contemporary world. In order to know a society, we have to know its media, its dynamics, its ideological workings first, and then we can probably can have a fair view of that society in the contemporary world. Fallon believes that we can understand such dynamics from a critical discourse analysis about media studies uh, by looking into uh, uh, various aspects of critical discourse analysis. So his views about critical discourse analysis and media basically focus on the possibilities uh, through which CDA can be used to analyze the discourse of media, or to analyze the mediated or mediatized discourse. In his thoughts, first he discusses the emergence of critical discourse analysis in 80s and 90s, and especially when it resonated with the theoretical division between political economy and cultural studies in media studies, and how these two topics became popular, and then critical discourse analysis was used to analyze them. Then he considers how CDA has been applied and critiqued in media research. It has been applied, certain findings have been sought through it, but still it has been critiqued for its certain maybe shortcomings, as people call it, as one of the shortcomings may be lack of the involvement of audience in the analysis. There may be many others, but he talks about various aspects of how critical discourse analysis has been involved in media studies. Then in the third section of his discussion and arguments, he talks about future possibilities of media discourse studies in ways that go beyond the notion of a prospective uh, CDA paradigm. And then in the last section, he ends with an empirical illustration that was informed by his own work on neoliberalism, and also explores how we might reimagine ideology critique of media studies, how ideology is projected or put behind, is backgrounded in various media studies. So we can somehow conclude here, based on the opinions of the authors I've just cited, that critical discourse analysis can potentially be a very useful tool in understanding the mediatized discourse of the world we are living in right now.